me appear here. Hello, everybody. So, welcome to the very first experimental session on the DeviceDojo. Like I said, experimental. Very, very early and very honest warning. If you expect a polished streaming session here, or if you expect like outstanding content or whatever, it might be time to leave now, because this is a session primarily for myself. I want to figure out how to use the streaming platform. I want to figure out how all the bits and pieces work. I want to figure out how to interact with you, if possible. And I won't present any like outstanding new content. What we will do is spin up a Yocto build. We will look at secure boot within Meta ARM, just because I think that's an interesting topic. Secure boot is an important thing these days, and as Meta ARM is providing the infrastructure on QEMU for doing that by now, we're going to set up a build for this and run it, and hopefully we also get to Meta Sulka along the lines. But like I said, it's really just about finding out how all of this works. A little bit about the DeviceDojo. It's a device, or it will be once we get past the experimental stage. It's a video series presented by Northern Tech, who are the makers of Mender, Avaldi, and CF Engine, and hopefully more interesting and cool stuff in the future. And I am Joseph. I'm your host throughout all of this, and my job is to make people and especially developers happy with Mender. I will focus on doing tutorials, live coding, and also office hours, where, like I said, I'm trying to understand what will work best for you, to interact with me, to have a fair amount of content which will help you in your daily developer lives, as well as providing interaction to get you started or answer your questions. And with that, I'd say let's figure out if I can actually show you something. This is hopefully big enough for you to read, and I can hopefully type. Yeah, echo hello. Not too bad. Okay. Let me try to see if this actually works. Yeah, again, one more warning. This is an experimental session. If I'm doing something really bad for your viewing experience, if I am bad to understand, if I'm looking ugly, well, I can't help the latter, but I can probably work on my sound or on my video. Please let me know in the comments so I can actually address the problem. Okay, so throughout the next probably like 15 to 20 minutes, we're gonna do a build of Yocto, which will hopefully in the end do a secure boot on a QEMU ARM. To this avail, I have already cloned Pocky, which is our starting point, obviously. Meta Open Embedded, which we might need. Meta ARM, which we will obviously need. More contrast, yeah, Alan, I think for the terminal, right? Let me see if I can actually do something about it. Shall I term settings? Let me see. Appearance, theme, dark high contrast. Does it also apply this? No, right? Too bad. Dark high contrast? Not sure. Okay, I definitely need to look at the contrast. Memo to myself. Okay, so like I said, we also have Meta ARM, and if I'm super fast and don't know what to do after 5 minutes, then we will also try to look at Meta Sulka distro, which is provided by a lovely guy and I'll get the name wrong. I think he's pronounced something like Esa Jeskele. A lot of ass because he's Finnish. I love Finns because they are metal. But I've had my fair share of fun with that already. And so if the secure boot stuff works out the way I want it to, then we'll try to use this distribution on top. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing, obviously, always is to set up a build. This one is super easy, and we've probably all done it 100 times or even 1,000 times by now. Let's add the meta arm layer. Bitbake layers is a nice tool for this. Add layer meta arm. Okay, and here comes the very first, very expected error, because we need meta arm toolchain. I think Ross has succeeded in actually killing that by now, but for ScoutCap, which we are using today, it is still around. And with that, let's try to figure out how we can actually build for secure boot. I'm going to use the NNN file browser, and let's look at meta arm. So within meta arm, I happen to know that there's a fancy machine, and that one is called QEMU-ARM64 Secure Boot. And we will try to use that one. The fancy part, which you can spot here, is that it defines a lot of stuff for QB, which means QEMU boot. And so if everything works out as expected, we will be able to run this directly via run QEMU. To this avail, we need to modify our local.conf to select the just mentioned machine. QEMU-ARM64 secure boot. And so you don't have to watch me for like 5 hours on this rebuild, because this is just a standard desktop machine. I have hot caches prepared for you. So let's grab DLDIR and estate cache. From my prepared stuff. With that, I think we're good to go. Let's do it with times so we can see how fast or how slow the machine is. Core image minimal. I just received visual proof of somebody wearing the same attire than me, which is lovely. I mean, it suits my viewers way better than it does me, but still, it's kind of like, it's a nice feeling. Hi, Nick. Yeah, let me try some fancy effects here. So people tell me that my sound is great. That's good. I can hide that again. Somebody else tells me that sound is good. Is my visual impression somewhat clear enough? I've got a fancy effect here. The camera follows me around. Ah, hi, Robert. Yes. You're very, very right with that. My main problem with SiteConf is that I always forget to copy it into the build. So I've tried to define DLDIR and estatedir as environmental variables for my .bashrc, which usually is picked up, except if I'm doing stupid trickery with shells, and then it is not picked up. So I formed the really bad habit of just writing it down each and every time, or injecting it through configuration file appends. Yeah, Alan, fancy camera. Yep, exactly that it is. I think it actually has a way to apply AI makeup to me, but even that won't help. I've got visual proof. Okay, run QAML. No graphic, no typo, no graphic slurp. Let me try more funky things here. Media assets. Breaking news! It has booted. Funky. And now I should be able to log in. Awesome. The really fancy part about this actually is, if we scroll up, that even though we are invoking the classic run QEMU, it actually does not use separate like kernel, root file system, whatever files. It actually uses a QCOW, which means that all of the stuff is properly mounted through U-boot and partitions, and all of the chain is actually there. So, yay, that one worked. Okay. Robert Simlinks. Care to explain a little bit how you symlink? And yes, Nick. Yes, that is an ops bot. So let's shut that one down again. Power off. And let's try to add metasolka. I think the Finnish usually pronounce it like solka. Perkale. That's the only Finnish word that I know. Okay. Bitbake. Layers. Add layer metasolka distro. Yeah, Robert. For SiteConf. So you run OE init build env, and then you just symlink directly to the SiteConf which you already have. Correct? Sticking with the thing I'm trying to show is obviously we need to add stuff. Bitbake, add layer, meta, open embedded, meta networking. And yeah, just for the sake of explanation, that has its own dependencies again. So we need meta OE first. And then we need meta Python. And after that, we can actually add meta networking. And once we got meta networking, we can actually add meta Solka. Okay, thanks. So it's interesting to run this thing here because now I've got 3 comments by Robert who all like relate to each other, and I can click highlight, but that one will just say, yep, which is nice. I like people agreeing or confirming my suspicions, but obviously it's not really helpful for the stream. I'll need to figure out something else for that. Okay, so we've added Solka, and we need to switch to the distribution. By default, we are building for Pocky, which is here. Let's add Solka. And let's build again. And it immediately tells us that this is insecure because debug tweaks is enabled, which allows passwordless root login, which is obviously not exactly secure. Okay, so conf local.conf. Let's find the debug tweaks. I just happen to know that they're here. So this warning tells us to be more secure. Let's build again. Time bitbake runs off. Can follow but have a light room. Okay, you for Ellen, you mean concerning the theme of the terminal. You can read it right now, but it's you want to say that it's more demanding on your mental energy because the contrast is not high enough and you're in a bright room. Okay, yeah, I definitely need to make the theme more high contrast. This is my standard personal way to run things. Yeah. Okay. Sulka runs off, and interestingly, it also implicitly enables CVE check, which is hopefully good. But also a little bit scary because if you see like roughly 150 CVE warnings for your build, then it feels like you should look into it. Okay, let me just try one or two final things, which is running that one. And I obviously can't log into it anymore. Hopefully, once it has booted. Yeah, root, no password. And it already tells me, okay, this is another distro, it is restricted, and it will log fancy things. Okay, let's just kill this instance and edit local.conf a little bit. I have, hopefully, if I can find it, the prepared, here it is. The prepared configuration for Sulka's service user. And let's just try to build this core image base and run QEMU no graphics slurp again. Hopefully my caches are all hot. So if this one goes through and we can log in, then I would say we all celebrate because the outcome was actually positive. And if it does not pass, then we all do not celebrate, but still call it a stream, hopefully. Because like I said, the purpose was to be experimental. I wanted to try if this actually works the way it should. I'm getting feedback that I am live on LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time. I seem to get both comments. People are saying that they can see and hear me, which is also good. Let's try to click some fancy things. There is something that's called achievement. Yay! Cool. No, that actually looks like crap. I don't like that. Again, for somebody who sees this in the far future, this is experimental. Let me know if I can do better, but please don't take all of the things that I'm doing here too seriously because that's not the intention. For those who are listening, I will do like 1, 2, maybe 3, depending on how good it goes, or how well it goes. So more such experimental sessions, probably 1 next week and 1 the week after, maybe even 2 next week. It really depends a little bit on how things evolve. And after that, we will go into production mode with more polished content, with more content on actually securing the world's connected devices instead of things that I do anyways, where I have more remaining mental capacity to actually think about the streaming technology. Okay. Does this work? Yes, it actually did work. So we are a limited user now. And is sudo installed? Sudo dmask. This actually works, hopefully. Yes, the user is in sudoers. So if there's one thing you could take away from this, or there are 2 things you might be able to take away from this. If you want to try secure boot in a Yocto build, there's MetaArm, which has a prepared setup within QEMU for you to try. And there's a fancy community contributed distribution called Sulka, which has all the magic for enabling CV check, checking that you're not accidentally allowing any root and passwordless logins, and at the same time gives you the mechanism to automatically set up a sudo user on the device. I would say mission accomplished. There were no major hiccups. I found 1 or 2 things to improve. Any other remarks? Let me add that one. I've got another fancy banner. You can visit hubmender.io to discuss, but you can also just like kick me personally, because hopefully everybody who's listening actually knows me. And yeah, I think with that, unless something crazy happens in the next 7.5 seconds in the chat, I would say thank you all for your attention. Help you all for me getting better, so I can provide a proper experience, hopefully real soon. Let me quote a valued coworker of mine: going once, going twice. And Robert seizes the occasion. The distros that focus on security by manipulating app armor profiles. That's a very good question, and I have no clue. We could talk to ESA about that. This is a nice functionality actually, to just click here, and I can show the question, so it is on video. I love that, really, but I don't have a good answer here. I've got a fancy animation here. Thank you.